Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar on Visualint and Luma and how to choose which one to use. I'm John Staley, Training Manager at SnapAV, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. Before we get started, let's go through a few quick housekeeping items. First, we will be recording the presentation and we'll send you a copy by email within a few days. That email will also include a coupon code for $100 off any surveillance purchase. And lastly, we're planning to have time at the end of the presentation for questions and answers. So please feel free to send your new questions at any time during the webinar. You can do that using the question and answer feature in the webinar control panel. And now I'll turn it over to the two presenters.
Hello everyone, my name is Alex Patrao and I am the Director of Product for our surveillance category. I've been with SnapAV for about almost 5 years now, and many of you probably have met me at CEDIA, but I'm also joined by Adrian Johnson. Adrian Johnson was the principal owner of Visualint prior to our acquisition of Visualint, and he's now with us full-time as VP of our Security Business Development. As the founder of Visualint, he has quite a lot of experience. Adrian, tell us a little bit about experience you've had over the years.
Thanks, Alex. So I've been in the surveillance industry for over 20 years. As you can tell from my accent, I'm originally from the UK. Grew up with video surveillance and has really been my life for the last 20 years. Very happy to be a member of the Snap family and look forward to the presentation today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adrian. So today we're talking about Luma and Visualint and why we have, two surveillance solutions in the SNAP store. As many of you know, we acquired Visualint late last year, and we're very excited about the capabilities that it brings to our surveillance offering. And we wanted to go through that today to give you more detail about Visualint and about the unique capabilities that it has, and why it makes sense that we now have these two solutions, Luma and Visualint, and when you might want to purchase a Luma solution and when you might want to purchase a Visualint solution. Before we get started in sort of comparing and talking about Luma and Visualint, though, I do want to talk a little bit about how you talk about surveillance and security with your customers and how you can meet and even exceed the expectations of the customer when offering them a solution. So let's move forward. So let's talk a little bit about security and surveillance and what that might mean for the customer and what they kind of expect out of a solution. So in the world of traditional security, and many of the houses that you support with audio and video solutions or whatever solutions you're providing to them, oftentimes come with security. Obviously, they're very expensive homes and they want to protect those homes with a security solution. A traditional security solution provides kind of a security boundary at the walls of the home. They protect windows and doors with sensors, so if any of those sensors are popped, then a threat is detected and an event will go off. And if these systems are monitored, then that monitoring system would react to that event. However, there's no way to verify that threat, and as a result, if they, for instance, dispatch police to respond to that threat, they won't know if it was a wind that blew open the door or was some non-threat that caused the trigger of that sensor. So that because of that low level of verification, oftentimes law enforcement does not prioritize responding to such events very highly. So they may not dispatch an officer for an hour or two, if at all, in many municipalities. So it would be great to offer a solution that kind of improved that response time. Now that we talked about traditional security, let's talk about traditional surveillance. So traditional surveillance offers really no security per se, just offers the ability to monitor a location with cameras around the home. Certainly you can record the video being monitored, and you can self-monitor yourself, meaning you can have an app that allows you to monitor those cameras and even receive alerts if there's motion detection. But it's really about offering peace of mind of being able to remotely view cameras and see that your property is in the property is in good shape and your family and your kids playing in the backyard. But at the end of the day, it's not a real-time response to any sort of event. If an event were to occur, you can then look at recorded video and potentially react on that, but it's really a history and not any sort of real-time reaction. Now, because surveillance is becoming more popular, and of course security is very popular, oftentimes you end up with systems where you have a security solution protecting the walls of the home and a surveillance system that monitors the property. But again, you have the same negatives in terms of response time because at the end of the day, you're only going to be responding to a sensor tripping on a door or a window not verified by video, or if an event happened looking at the video kind of in a historical sort of way. Well, there is a possibility for more than that, and that is you can think about video security. And video security is where you kind of start to marry some of the best of both worlds, where you have cameras monitoring the property, but once you get those cameras to the point where they're intelligent enough to actually distinguish events more accurately in terms of an actual human or car or vehicle presence that shouldn't be there versus a dog or a squirrel or rain happening, then you're able to start now monitoring that and being more accurate to offer a more video security solution. Now, if you can, in addition to that, also integrate with the security system, and now you have both a perimeter around the property of your home and around the walls of your home, now you can actually create a situation where you can have real-time response. And let's go into more detail here. So if you're able to integrate an intelligent video surveillance system, that will enable you can enable a professionally monitored video. So now a professional monitor will be triggering off those events to react and decide based on a visual contact and a visual verification of a person or a vehicle that's not supposed to be there, and then contact law enforcement. Now, law enforcement treats a video verified event much more urgently, almost to the level of someone calling in 911. And as a result, you get urgent response, and now you get real-time response to an event. In addition to that, there's also many insurance companies starting to recognize video verified surveillance solutions to be able to protect property in a better way because of this response. And as a result, insurance costs can also be lower. And that helps to offset some of the costs of providing that monitoring. So we'll talk a little bit more on how we can do these types of things, but there is more out there than just security, traditional security. There's more out there than just traditional surveillance. So let's talk a little bit more about that and talking about what's possible. So Adrian, can you help us walk through in your mind some of these kind of basic differences between, say, that traditional security plus surveillance and what we're calling an intelligent video solution?
Absolutely. Thanks, Alex. So with traditional security and traditional surveillance, as Alex said, the security starts at the wall. You can see historical video. You can control the stream by a smart home. You can view the streams actually through your control systems. Where intelligent surveillance provided with Visualint really takes it to the next level is the security starts on the boundary of the property. So when somebody enters the property, that creates an event, and that event could be a notification to the homeowner, a link into the control system, or, as Alex mentioned, a link to the video response center. When it comes to smart homes, Visualint really makes a smart home even smarter, because when something activates, and we'll cover this in more detail in a few slides time, but when an activation occurs, if you can configure the scene to happen through a control system, we can initiate that scene from the camera, whether that's playing music, turning lights on. If you can automate it through the control system, you can then activate that through Visualint. So your limitation really is your imagination and what you can do with the programmability of the control system. So just recapping, the traditional security and surveillance really gives you burglar alarm style monitoring on the edge of the property with surveillance, and then you've got your intelligent video security that really moves that boundary away from the physical walls of the building out to the boundary of the property, so you can detect an event really before it occurs.
Thanks, Adrian. So we're going to really get into really those differences, because oftentimes customers really just want that sort of traditional security and traditional surveillance, and we can offer solutions around that. But when you're looking for kind of differentiating yourself from the crowd and potentially offering more than just a traditional security and traditional surveillance, we now have an offering with Visualint that allows you to do that, and we want to go into that in some detail. But before we get into the Visualint side, let's kind of baseline ourselves with Luma and why you'd want to use Luma and how it really hits the mark in terms of providing that sort of traditional surveillance solution that oftentimes that's what your customers are just looking for. So when we developed Luma, what we were really trying to go after was that sort of traditional surveillance solution, but really focusing on both kind of the end user experience and the dealer experience. So on the end user side, really having that sort of customer focus around user interface, really making it simple to use. Oftentimes these surveillance solutions are really built around a kind of professional security sort of user, but we wanted to offer a professional grade product in terms of quality and workmanship. And really most of the consumer focused products out there were really sort of DIY products and really not a professional grade quality. On the dealer side, we are 100% focused on the dealers. You are our customers, and our focus was around making it simple to set up, simple to use, obviously deep control system support, and of course adding it to the overseas ecosystem really helps make that simple. So let's get into more detail. I also want to point out, by the way, we asked CE Pro to run a survey of the entire industry, and dealers actually agreed with what we were trying to accomplish. We are now the #1 preferred brand for surveillance products in the CEDIA market. Thank you for that. And when we looked at the surveys, all the answers really mirrored exactly what we talked about. Easy to use, easy to set up, great support, great quality, control system integration, etc. So just a little bit more detail on kind of around that end user experience. We focus quite a lot on the user interface, both the mobile and the web interface, making it as easy and as intuitive to understand and use as possible. It's very difficult with a complex product like an NVR or DVR, but we really tried to pull in elements from TV DVRs, such as like TiVo, where we have things like go back, go forward, jump to the next event, previous event, or even just go straight to live. So really, it's a nice product where it's minimal training is required when you pass off that solution to your to the end user to make it easy for them to pick up and just use right away. Luma offers a both analog and IP solution, and because of that, we identified the need for a single unified app, so that if you had a customer that might have an analog solution or an IP solution, depending on maybe in a home or a business, they had a single app that they can use and support either solution with. The simple controls allow them to quickly access any function that they need, and of course we support iOS and Android. On the dealer side, we've always focused very hard to make the dealer experience very good. We've worked hard to try to improve the control system experience, integrating with the major control system providers. We provide IR, RS-232, and IR capability for driver support in both streaming and navigation control. But recently, we've added even more commands, advanced commands such as being able to turn on and off notifications and recording, or reacting to an event. So if a motion event went off, you can have that trigger something on the control system. So it's really powerful and flexible in terms of what you can do. And then of course we made Luma part of the overseas family, offering sort of one place where the user can manage their system, whether it be Luma, Wapbox, or Arachnus. So now that we've kind of baselined the system around Luma and what we can and cannot do around Luma, we'd like to start to compare with Visualint and what we can do with Visualint, not only as an advanced surveillance solution, but how we can actually enable video security applications and capabilities. So one of the first and major differences of Luma and Visualint is analytics. As many of you heard, Visualint has analytics built into it. Certainly if you take a look at what Luma offers, Luma as a traditional surveillance solution offers things like basic motion, where you can set up an area where if some percentage of the pixels change light, then an event is triggered and you'll record and trigger either an email or a recording. Luma does offer very basic, what we call smart motion. We have the ability to enable one line cross and an intrusion box, but that capability, while it's moving in the direction of analytics, is extremely basic when compared to Visualint. So Adrian, while we're here, why don't you tell us a little bit more and explain the differences and the capabilities that Visualint has in terms of its analytics relative to the basic sort of motion and smart motion that Luma has.
No problem, thanks Alex. So really intelligent video analytics really takes over where smart motion leaves off. What we're doing, we do more than just track objects based on pixels. We're looking at the object size, we're looking at speed, and each Visualint camera includes 7 different types of algorithms, where you've got just one in with smart motion with the cross lines. The most popular ones that we offer, and I'll just touch on a few of them today, is the dual trip line. And you can see from the slide, you've got the guy as he's leaving his car, he's got the green box around him to identify that we've identified that that's an object of interest. It meets our parameters that we've configured in the camera. So as the person crossed the first line, we didn't get a red box. We actually only got a red box, as you can see from the second slide, when the guy crosses that second line. So it enables us to do filters, direction filters, speed filters. So the object needs to cross line 1 within X seconds before it crosses line 2. That significantly enables us to reduce the level of false alerts when we take all of those parameters and we embed them into our analytic algorithm. Other popular algorithms that are included is the loiter. So a great application for that is where you've got a zone on a sidewalk. Somebody walking past the home just walks through the zone within a predetermined time. We're not interested, we don't need that to create an alert. But if there's someone that's loitering outside the home and they're staying in that zone for X number of seconds or minutes, again that's configurable through the camera, the alert will then be generated. So only if somebody loitering would create an event. Another 2 filters that are useful is abandoned object and object removed. Good use case for those is an object, a UPS arrive and they deliver a package to your front door. Yes, the camera can tell you that the package has been left at the front door, but nowadays UPS, their system, can also send you an email, a text message to tell you that that package has been delivered. What UPS can't tell you is if that package is removed. If that package is then removed, the camera has the ability to send you a notification to tell you that that box has been removed from the front doorstep on the front porch. So there are a few use cases where the advanced algorithms and the advanced intelligence in a Visualint camera can give you a lot more than a camera with smart motion and basic motion detection. You would be inundated with false alerts. We can create up to 8 rules per camera. Typically, you would only create no more than 2 or 3 based on the scenes, but we can support up to 8 rules. One of the things that's really smart, and the next slide I'll move on to now takes us into that, is moving on to smart home and how we can make the smart home even smarter. If you think of the front driveway on any of your personal properties or any of your clients' properties, they could have a motion detector attached to a light. So when the light activates, when the motion detector activates, the light turns on. But when trash blows across the driveway, when a raccoon walks across, that gives you an activation. What you can do with a Visualint camera when it's integrated into a smart home is really take that to a new level, and I'll give you a couple of examples where we've used that. Imagine you've got that same area, a Visualint camera covering the car on the front driveway. With the camera integrated into the automation system and the alarm system integrated into the automation system, the alarm system informs the control system that the system is armed, the building is empty, so it now can follow a predetermined set of rules when it receives an instruction from the camera. So a person walks up to the car late at night, the burglar alarm is set, the control system knows the burglar alarm is set, and someone is activates the analytics. So the activation comes from the analytics to the control system. The control system can then turn the lamp on at the side of the bed. 3 seconds later, the bedroom light can turn on. 5 seconds later, the light in the hallway. Another 5 seconds, the living room light, the family room light can turn on. Then you can turn the TV on in the family room. You can start playing music, just to give the person on the front doorway the sense that there's really somebody in the home. Obviously the lights coming on will one after another. It mimics somebody walking through the home and turning the lights on. Another example is you could, if somebody was walking down the side of the property, we've done this on one project for one end user, they wanted to have the shades automatically closed at the back of the home if anybody walked towards the back of the home, for example, the pool service tech. So the pool service tech walks down the side of the home, he activates the trip line, tells the control system that there's somebody there. The control system can then lower the shades, and then obviously after they either leave crossing the line in the opposite direction, the shades could open, or that could then be timed out, so you could say close the shades for X seconds. So there's just two examples of how we can really make a smart home smarter. And what I said before, if you can automate it through the control system, we can actually trigger that from the camera. So your only limitations is, one, your imagination, and two, the ability to program what you want to achieve within the control system. Okay, I'll just hand back over to you, Alex, so you can continue.
Yeah, that's really exciting. The level of customization that you can give is really amazing. Now, the other thing that distinguishes the Visualint products even more is that those events being sent back to the control system are set on a per rule basis. So you can create rules that are just for triggering intelligent things in the home. This is something you can't do with Luma. With Luma, you can only trigger off of any event or any motion that's happening on that particular camera. So that ability of any of those 8 rules in that one camera to be specifically targeting just to make that smart home smarter, very cool feature. Now, going forward, we mentioned previously about a video security, and one of the aspects about video security was that real-time response to an event happening. The way that's done is through having a professional video monitoring service monitor that system for you. Adrian, do you mind walking us through how that happens and how that integration can be done with Visualint and made better with Visualint products?
No, absolutely. So if we just start with the top left-hand slide, say these slides are taken from a promotional video from one of our monitoring partners. And you can see in the top left-hand video, the Visualint camera has detected the person walking up the sidewalk. You'll see we've got a red box around the target, so we know that, yes, that's a person that's activated one of the analytic rules. The camera and all of the intelligence, something to mention as well that we haven't touched on yet, is all of the intelligence is actually built into the camera. So it's as if the camera has a brain. So everything that we do, everything we're talking about with Visualint is actually built into the Visualint cameras. So the analytics activates, the camera then talks directly to the alarm receiving center. So to the alarm receiving center can also typically, the video response center can also be an alarm receiving center. So there are monitoring stations that we work with that will monitor burglar alarms, and there's those that exclusively will monitor camera systems because of the reduction that they get in false alerts and the more control that they have and getting a better level of police response. So when that activation comes through to the monitoring station, the operator is trained on the use of the system. They're trained on the site. They can follow a specific procedure for the site. So they know that that person shouldn't be there. They can give an audio talk down. We've got a new camera that's about to release, the VIM7650, that Alex will touch on at the end of the presentation. That actually has a speaker built into it, so there's no need to install a separate speaker. The operator from the monitoring station can talk down to the site in real time to warn the person that they've activated the system. Typically, the person will be deterred because the message isn't recorded, it's in real time. They can describe and tell them what they're doing, what they're wearing, and typically that person would then leave and wouldn't carry out the theft or the crime that they potentially would have done had they remained on site. If that person refuses to leave and doesn't leave, the operator will then pass that to site, and as Alex mentioned earlier, that typically gets the same level of response as a normal 911 call. So the police will attend and hopefully apprehend the person on site. So there's a big difference in the police response that you get from a monitored surveillance system than what you get from a typical alarm system. Firstly, the police know that it's genuine, they respond a lot faster, but also you can typically apprehend the person before they actually break in, so the perimeter of the building isn't violated. So that it gives an advantage in certain areas. You'll actually get reductions on your insurance because they haven't got a claim because the person didn't actually break in. You've stopped that from occurring. So I'll pass this back to you, Alex.
Yeah, that's really exciting. This capability is amazing. Now, Adrian mentioned third-party video monitoring partners. We're actually building up a collection of third-party monitoring partners that Adrian and his team is building up. If you're interested in enabling a video monitored solution with our Visualint products, we're actually in the process of building up that list, and feel free to contact us. Someone from Adrian or someone from Adrian's team would match your needs and your customers' needs to one of our regional or national monitoring partners to enable that capability. Really exciting stuff, and this is really what allows us to really extend the boundary of security from the walls of the home out into the property. Really, really exciting stuff. Now, one of the things that we found, or one of the things that I think you found, Adrian, when you were deploying Visualint, when you first started deploying Visualint and analytics onto the field, is how do you take a sort of complex technology like analytics and make it work in real life? You know, what are the things that you did and you found necessary to make that work, and how have we incorporated that with Snap AV?
So the way that we thought about it was, it really starts from the system design. You can't just go and install a camera typically where you would just install a regular camera. We need to think about the field of view, where the analytics zones will be. There's several things you need to consider: where the zones will be, what direction potentially will the object be approaching the property, so we can get them visually, and obviously make sure that we can optimize the analytics. So we offer a free design service. It's a free service. You can submit the site plans. It needn't even necessarily be a site plan, just an address, and we can scale the Google Earth image, and we can then do that system design for you based on your requirements. So you can see from on the top left-hand corner of the site, this site plan gives you 8 cameras covering the property. It's amazing how many homeowners think that, yeah, property like that, I only need 4 cameras, 1 in each corner, I'll be able to see exactly what I need. What this does, this manages the end user's expectations, so they know that, yes, this is the field of view that the camera will see. Everything that we do complies to the British standard. There's not a true standard in the US yet for video surveillance and pixels per foot, so we use the British standard when we're doing our system design, so we know that what we're showing you on the plan is pretty accurate for what you will get when you get on site. It's part of the system design pack. You get the resolution breakdown, so the pixels per foot, what's recognition, what's identification, for example. And we can also help out by drawing on that same site plan some analytic zones. So what that enables you to do is present that plan to the end user, to the client. They know before they even place the order what coverage they will get, a realistic coverage plan. Then once you've placed the order, we then move on and we start talking about our virtual technician. Our cameras, the price of the camera includes configuration. So one of our techs within the tech support team will do the configuration of the camera, and they do everything from assigning the IP address, any port forwarding, configuring the analytics, exactly the way that it needs to be done. We don't rely upon a tech. If we've designed the system, we use that original system design to configure the system in that way. So it enables you to not have to send your network guy to site to do the camera configuration, assigning the IP addresses. He doesn't need to learn the analytics in great detail because our tech support team is there to do it all for you. So that was one of the big gotchas that we struggle to overcome when we come to doing deploying Visualint to the US market, was how do we train our dealers to be able to configure a camera in the way that it needs to be configured. Our tech support team, when a new member of staff joins our virtual technician team, they spend a full month just shadowing one of our other guys, learning, training, understanding the technology. We don't really consider them an expert until they've been doing it all day, every day for around a year. There's no way that we can train our dealers to have the level of expertise and technical knowledge and real general experience to get the maximum potential and the least number of false alerts out of a camera. I know Alex just wants to touch a little bit more now on some of the feedback that he got early on video analytics and some of that. So I'll hand back to Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when we were in the process of looking at Visualint, we were talking to a lot of dealers, and we really got a sense of 2 different types of dealers who've actually tried analytics in the past. You know, we talked to obviously Visualint dealers, and they were very satisfied with that virtual tech process and really having the analytics really meet the expectations that they had set up front with their customer. And then we talked to a group of dealers that had tried analytics with other products, and they had a much different experience. They found, I can't tell you how many dealers told me that, they say, when you ask them about analytics, they say, oh, analytics, they're gimmicky, or they just don't work. Or I thought they would do this and they really did that, and it didn't really meet the customer's expectations. And this is where the Visualint solution really ties everything together, between having the design services where upfront you're designing a system as it should be built and specifying that, so that in the pre-sale process, not only does the dealer get what he expects to get, but then he can actually provide that to the customer so that expectations are set very clearly at the beginning. And then you have virtual tech really executing that and enabling the analytics to do exactly what they're supposed to be doing because of the experience of that team is really the glue that brings the whole solution together. Very, very important. And I just want to highlight, again, the design services for Visualint are free. You can just go on our website and on the Visualint brand page. If you go to the services page on there, you can create a booking to have a design done for you for free. Typically, we say typically it'll take 2 to 3 days, but we've been able to get those out typically much faster than that. So feel free to use that. So as we move forward, let's talk about a little bit more detail about how do we bring this solution together, right? So if the idea is to create sort of a video security solution and moving from traditional security, possibly with surveillance, and turning that into a video security solution, what does that mean? How do we make that better?
So what we do with moving the perimeter to the edge and using the video surveillance system to achieve that, there's several ways. We have a product called Visualint Control that will integrate to a burglar alarm system. So in its simplest form, if you've still got the burglar alarm system in the home, the surveillance system really operates as an extension to that. So the alarm system connects directly into Visualint Control, or it can link into the control system if there's a control system in the property, but if there isn't, Visualint Control will do the same job. And what we then do, we arm and disarm the cameras when the burglar alarm is armed and disarmed. We can also add entry-exit delays. So like you've got with a burglar alarm, when somebody comes through the front door, it would count down. When you activate that first camera, it will hold that alert and it will count down to give you a chance to get to the panel to disarm. And it's exactly the same when you arm. When you arm the system, it can add a delay when you come to leave the site, so you're not activating the system on the way out and being inundated with alerts or sending unnecessary alerts through to the monitoring station. When you want to use it as a complete standalone security system, you've got two options. We have got a system that we can add, a keypad that we can add to Visualint Control. You can link it into your existing control system, or you can actually use our new, one of our latest products, Visualint Touch. Visualint Touch is a standalone, you think of it as like a standalone alarm controller, where you can have up to 4 areas, you can arm and disarm cameras. What you can also do, you can turn camera streams on and off, and you can create user profiles. So a homeowner, when they come back, they disarm the system. That can turn the camera event notifications off, so they're not receiving events. But it can also turn off the camera stream. We don't kill power to the camera, we just send a signal to the camera to tell it to disable the stream, so it maintains their privacy. Obviously, if you wanted to keep the cameras on, you can have a different profile, for example, for the cleaner. So when the cleaner comes of an afternoon, she enters the property, she walks in, she enters her code, follows her profile, and then the event notifications would disarm, so people weren't being inundated as the cleaner was walking around, but it leaves the streams on to the internal cameras. So what she's doing in the home can be watched or can be recorded. So you've got complete flexibility there when it comes to when you come to use Visualint Touch. In exactly the same way, you can arm and disarm cameras like I mentioned. One of the smart features with Visualint Control, it's also like a mini alarm panel because it has inputs and outputs that can be monitored by the alarm center. So if you've got a flood alert or any other type of detector that can be connected as an input, the monitoring station can also use that. And they can also control the outputs that are on board. So if you, for example, the system activated, the police needed to get through the gate. From their monitoring platform, they could press a relay, they could press a button to activate a relay on their system remotely that would unlock the gate for the police. And also the cameras can control the outputs as well. Vision control can be communicated to directly from the cameras, and then from the camera, that will then control that output. So that's really how you can use a video surveillance, an intelligent Visualint surveillance system, as a standalone security system without the need necessarily for your traditional burglar alarm. And again, detecting activity at the boundary rather than when it's too late, when somebody is already in the home. Anything to add to that, Alex?
No, I just marvel at the amazing things we can do with Visualint, because it really offers such a unique capability that no other surveillance system can offer, that really transforms the surveillance system into a video security system. The capabilities of touch and control for either integrating with or even emulating a security system is really amazing. Really the only thing left from a security system, aside from what Visualint control and visual touch can do, is really all of the life safety sort of capabilities, things like gas sensors or fire and those types of things. So really amazing things. I look forward to getting this product out in your hands so that you can tell us how it is and how we can make it better. So let's get into a little bit more detail and kind of a direct head-to-head comparison of Luma and Visualint and talk about some of that. So if you look let's look at a table here and say, all right, what are the differences here between Luma and Visualint? Certainly we have this sort of at a high level. Luma is a traditional surveillance solution, Visualint a intelligent video solution. We talked about event capture. Luma has the basic and smart motion capability, whereas Visualint, it's all about the analytics, all about the 7 rules and having a number of rules that you can deliver and react to. Luma does offer both an analog and IP solution with things like unified app. Visualint is only an IP solution. You can't do the complexity of what's happening in the Visualint cameras with an analog solution. They certainly both offer deep control system integration. There's some differences here in terms of control systems and capabilities, but quite a lot of capability in terms of control integration. I would say the one exception on the Visualint side is that only the Visualint line series of NVRs offer sort of navigation controls, whereas the Minimax does not. So that's something to keep in mind. In terms of dealer services, certainly both, now that Visualint is part of the Snap AV family, it benefits from the extensive Snap technical support team. But on top of that, we offer on the Visualint side the free design services and the built-in virtual tech to really pull like I said, it's really the glue that makes the system work and make it work correctly. We talked about monitoring. You can professionally monitor the system with Visualint using a third-party service, or you can just monitor, the customer can monitor with themselves through the app, through email notifications and that sort of thing. Visualint offers the security integration. It's really amazing what it can do in terms of integrating with the security system, whereas Luma cannot. Now Luma does offer, now that Visualint has just joined the Snap AV family, so we haven't yet added overseas support to Visualint. It's something we plan on doing in the future, but for now, Visualint doesn't support overseas. So there is that limitation as well right now. So, but let's get into one last thing. There's one other thing that's really really sets Visualint apart compared to a Luma and sort of a traditional surveillance system, and that is the scalability, right? So Luma, we offer up to 16-channel NVRs and DVRs, which is a pretty significant system for most homes, but sometimes there are cases where you need more cameras or you want to connect different systems, and Visualint does offer the capability of supporting up to 4,000 cameras. That seems like a crazy high number, Adrian. So would you mind giving us a little bit more detail of how you can do that and how that works?
Absolutely. The Visualint line is actually a video management system rather than just an NVR. The difference between a VMS, a video management system, and an NVR is the ability to pull multiple machines. We've called them NVRs in the purpose of this slide together as one, and they could be multiple machines in one property. They could be multiple properties. Those machines could literally be anywhere in the world, pulled together, viewed and operated as if it was one large system. And that's why it's important to support a high number of cameras, and Visualint Line can support 4,096 cameras on a single system. What we've also done is we support ONVIF, so any camera that's manufactured today we can connect with, but we also support over 4,000 cameras from over 100 different manufacturers directly without using the ONVIF integration. So what that enables you to do is create a system, whether it's residentially. You could have somebody with a vacation home in Miami, their main residence in New York, and another vacation property out in California, and they can view all of them together. They could have a small MVR. One of the new products that's coming soon that we'll touch on at the end is the micro MVR. That could be installed in one of the vacation properties. They could have the high capacity MVR in their main residence, and then in one of their other properties they could have the line MVR and view them all as if it was one big application. So whether you're viewing from the iOS device, a web browser, Android, or the Observer client which runs on Windows, you can view the system as one. So you could view and play back from any of the cameras located in any location as if they were all connected physically to one machine. What we do as well with the flexibility, with the exception of the micro MVR, the line MVR and the high capacity MVR, the original number of camera licenses can be expanded. So we've got flexible licensing. So if you've got start off with an application where they've got 8 cameras, they call you a few weeks later, they want to add another 1 or 2 cameras. You don't need to buy a second MVR, you just add additional licenses to the machines. For example, the 4 camera, initially the 4 and 8 camera MVRs can support up to 15 cameras. The 16 camera machine can support up to 24, and then you've got the 32 channel option on top of that. So the licensing, when people hear that it's a license, they automatically assume that there's some sort of recurring fee. There are no recurring fees. Once you buy that license for the system, that enables you to connect a camera, and that's yours for the life of the system, for the life of the product. And we don't come back asking for any more fees to keep maintaining or updating or supporting that camera license that you've just purchased. One of the features that we also support on the Observer client is we take the analytic tagging that is produced by the camera. So for example, remember the slide that we looked at earlier where you got the camera looking at the front driveway and we got the zone drew around the car? We could give that zone a name within the camera. For example, we could call that front driveway. Every time that camera activates, that camera would communicate to the MVR to say there was an activation in this zone. The MVR, the VMS system, the Visualint Line, can then tag that message to the particular footage. So let's say that the homeowner's been out of town for a week, there was an incident on the front driveway. What it would enable them to do is not have to sit through a week's worth of footage, keep skimming through the Observer, the Windows client. They could do a physical search based on that zone name. So they can search by the zone name. So front drive, they would physically type into the search engine, front driveway, and then that would give them a list of every time there was activity on that driveway. So there might be 20 people that have been on that driveway delivering mail or whatever they were doing during the week. So they would click on each of those activations and they would quickly find the incident that they were looking for. So that can save them days sometimes in actually playing back incidents that they've had. So the primary use cases are larger applications, projects that may require scaling in the future, multiple locations, multiple buildings, multiple floors within a building. There's all sorts of people using, from large schools to marijuana grow houses that are using Visualint Line, down to people with a 4-camera Visualint Line system in a residence. So that's really where Visualint is different as well when it comes to our back-end platform, the Visualint Line, because it's a true VMS, and you don't typically come across many VMS platforms used on a regular basis in the residential market space. And that really, again, ties back to our experience that we're bringing from the security market. Anything to add to that, Alex?
No, it's really great. The scalability of the Line Series NVR is pretty impressive. Now, this slide does give away a little bit in terms of some upcoming product launches that we do have coming out. So if we look on the horizon, in the very short term, we are launching a few new Visualint products. So in the previous slide, we talked about the high capacity NVRs and the micro NVR. These are going to be launching over the next couple of weeks. So look forward to seeing those on our website. Again, the high capacity NVR, very similar to our existing line series NVR, except it comes with large amounts of hard drive capacity. This is really important where there are applications of needing to do full-time recording for a long period of time. Now, one thing to note on those high-capacity NVRs is those come with 0 licenses, so you actually have to purchase licenses as you please. We did that to enable flexibility. You know, in talking with Adrian, he's had jobs where he might have the job might have a requirement where it needs like 120 days of recording maintained at all times. Well, yeah, it takes a significant amount of storage just to do that for 4 or 5 cameras. So we limited the amount of licenses on that and made that super flexible, so you can add as many licenses as you need, up to 32. The micro NVR, the micro NVR is a 5-channel NVR. It's an odd size, 5 channels. However, it's very small size. It's able to be hidden, either mounted on a wall next to a security panel somewhere, or even mounted inside a utility panel. So it's a really nice product that's coming out also in the next couple weeks. That's on the Visualint line NVR side. We do have another PTZ coming out as well. So right now with Visualint, we have the flagship 7550 that has IR, smart Starlight, all the analytics, camera to communication, but also has auto tracking. Well, the 7650 is similar to the 7150, except that it does not have auto tracking, but it does add a speaker. As we talked about before, that loudspeaker can be used by the video monitoring center to actually deter a perpetrator that might be on scene before they've actually entered the building, to hopefully get them to leave the area. So that's really exciting camera. Please look out for those coming soon. Another question that a lot of dealers have been asking is, hey, when are we going to get integration of Luma and Visualint? When can I use Visualint cameras with Luma NVR, or vice versa? Well, today, right now, those two systems don't work very well together. Certainly, the line NVR can integrate with Luma IP cameras because it can integrate with just about any camera on the market. However, the Luma NVR can view and record Visualint cameras, but can't actually react to the intelligent smart events that the Visualint cameras are really built for. So really, there's not good compatibility today, but that's going to change. The team is working hard to integrate the two systems and make them completely interoperable. Certainly, we've been doing other things like adding oversee over time and those types of things. So really looking forward to the future of Luma and Visualint together, as they really offer distinctive capabilities for different segments of the market. So while we've been presenting here for the last 45 minutes or so, there have been lots of questions coming in. Some of those questions are getting answered real time, but I think John has a few questions that he'd like to ask us that really fill a common thread that's happening from you guys. So John, what do you got for us?
Thanks, Adrian. Alec, that was actually awesome, all that information that you gave. And some of the questions will mirror some of the things that you talked about, but there seems to be a common thread. So we'll just kind of go through a couple of these and see where we stand. One of the first ones that came up was, can Luma cameras and NVRs be used or interchangeable with Visualint, which you just kind of addressed. Example, client wants a Visualint PTZ on the front of the house and 8 other cameras Luma. Is this all compatible, or is it either all Luma and all Visualint? So I think you just answered that, but just speak that one more time.
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you want a Visualint intelligent PTZ and then a bunch of Luma cameras, that can certainly work with a line series NVR, not with a Luma NVR. However, you're losing a lot of capability if you were to do that, only because one of the great features about the Visualint PTZs is what we call camera-to-camera communication, and that is you can have a PTZ that's in the corner of the house and it might be looking at, say, the driveway. But you could have other cameras that are looking around the house and other parts of the property where the PTZ may not be looking. Well, if a perpetrator were to enter, say, the front yard where the PTZ is not looking, if that were a Visualint camera, that Visualint camera can actually tell the PTZ, hey, go look at the front yard, and that PTZ will then go look at the front yard, zoom in on that person. And if that PTZ happens to be the 7150 or the 7230 that has auto tracking, it will then follow that person throughout the property. So that's a really amazing capability. So you can certainly have a Luma camera working on a system with a Visualint PTZ on a line NVR specifically, but you're going to lose some of that capability because it's not a Visualint camera. Anything else for us, John?
One of the next questions was, I'm looking for an easy install on my end. Right now using Interlogix, which takes so much time to set up. I have found Arlo being simple install, but their wireless and batteries go fast if using constant recording. So I think that's more in play with difference between Luma and Visualint as far as scalability and ease of install and stuff like that. Do you want to address that one?
Sure thing. So certainly Luma offers an extremely simple experience for both easy to use and easy to set up. This is amongst the top responses when we had dealers talking about Luma surveillance and the ability to specify, build, set up. And certainly if there was ever a problem, we have our tech support here to back you up and really make sure that anything that it might be difficult for you to set up, make that super easy. So that's not really a problem. Visualint really takes that to completely the next level because we do everything for you. The dealer services in terms of the design services and the virtual tech really make that trivial because now literally you don't even have to be there when the setup is happening because the design service really dictates where the cameras will be installed, what direction they're going to be installed. So your technician might go there, pull the wire, mount the cameras, point them in the right direction, make sure all the wires are hooked up. At that point, you can set up an appointment where the virtual tech will actually set it up for you. And in the case of a line NVR system, the tech literally doesn't even have to be there. So you might pull the wires on Wednesday, mount all the cameras on Thursday, and have virtual tech log in remotely on Friday and set up the system for you based on the specifications of the design that was set up right from the beginning. So in terms of easy of setup, I don't think it gets any easier than that.
Awesome, Alex, thanks. I'm going to let you guys flip a coin on this one. Question is, can you provide some sales examples on why Luma or Visualint is superior to LTS, Hikvision, Daiwa, considering your solutions are probably 3 to 5 times the cost? And obviously here we have to upsell the higher pricing to the client.
I think if I take the first half of that question, I can answer from the Visualint side, and then I'll pass over to Alex to answer from the Luma side. So we're not going to flip the coin, we'll split it. From a Visualint side, you can't compare really the functionality of a Visualint camera to any of the products that you've listed. The analytics or the smart motion, which is probably more accurate, that those manufacturers offer is completely different, and the functionality, even when you come to the integration that we've done with the control system and the ability to send event notifications from the camera directly to the control system. We've spent a lot of time, both pre and post acquisition, working on our control system drivers to make that user experience, not just from integrating the video streaming, but also that two-way communication, the ability to turn streams off, the ability to turn the events on and off, really to make that user experience a lot better and really focused on the CDU market in addition to what we're doing in the security market. We really see the value in both markets, and even before we became part of the Snap family, we saw that in the CDU market with some of the things that we were doing there. So that's really where I think Visualint adds value. When you look at virtual technician, the fact that the camera is configured and calibrated by a factory employee, your guys don't need to become experts. They're already experts in what they do. They don't need to become experts in video analytics, as it's something that you probably wouldn't be installing every single day, although we'd like you to be installing it every single day. So I'll flip this over to you now, Alex, and you can answer the same question with regards to Luma.
Yeah, I totally agree with Adrian. He had the easier half of this answer because in reality, the two systems, Visualint and all the systems you talked about, you mentioned, just don't even compare. They're not even the same level. But Luma is a similar sort of solution as the solutions you talked about when you talk about Hikvision Dahua or LTS or something like that, oftentimes very similar in terms of the default capabilities of the system. Now, where Luma starts to diverge, even though it's a traditional surveillance system, where it starts to diverge is all the things that we talked about in terms of the improved user experience, the improved dealer experience in terms of setup, the ability to do a deeper control system integration, the overseas support, and how we back you up in terms of how you support the product with our tech support. And because ultimately, when you install the solution, you're not installing it and walking away. Typically, you're there to maintain the system over time. And when it comes to maintaining the system over time, a Luma solution along with the backing of Snap AV is going to result in a much better overall experience for you and the end user. So when it comes to both the user experience, dealer experience, and long-term support and maintenance of that product, Luma really offers things that Hikvision, Dahua, or LTS solution just can't offer you, because it's really just the hardware that they're offering. Any other questions, John?
We've got a few more, and we've still got a little bit of time, so let me just kind of get through a couple of these. This one pertains to audio. What is the best way to implement speakers for a video monitoring service? Are you selling these types of speakers, and do they hook into the Visualint camera system itself or to the cameras?
Okay, I'll take that one, Alex. Obviously, the easy answer is the new VIM 7650 has a speaker built into it. It's a 100 dB rated speaker with an amplifier, and to give you an idea, 100 dBs is exactly the same rating as a burglar alarm siren. So it's significant volume when the monitoring station operator is making that announcement to site. Majority of the cameras, apart from the entry-level cameras, have audio output. It's a non-amplified, it's a line level out, so you need to have a small amplifier and you need to have a speaker. We don't currently provide, correct me if I'm speaking incorrectly here, Alex, we don't currently provide a horn speaker that will be suitable for that, but there are many that are readily available on the market, and we're more than happy to guide you. In fact, I can reply to this message later with some more details on suitable speakers. But it's an easy process. On the website there's a document to show you actually how to connect a speaker directly to a Visualint camera for that audio talk down service. And I'll be honest, the audio talk down when you remotely video monitoring a surveillance system really is invaluable, because you can deter that person from carrying out the incident that they intended to do when they arrived on site. Okay, John.
Thank you. Great answer. I appreciate that. Real quick question here. When you add camera licenses, do you have to change your image quality to support the added cameras?
Sure, great question. So on our website, we have a document that talks about how many cameras can be supported on the line NVR. So for instance, our 4-channel or 8-channel line NVR can support up to 14 cameras. Now, when we say up to 14 cameras, that means 14 cameras performing similarly to the first 4 or 8 channels that we had. We can actually support potentially even more cameras if we go ahead and downgrade the quality. Like, so for instance, I mentioned the 5-channel micro NVR, right? The 5-channel micro NVR can support 5 cameras at the same time. Technically speaking, actually, there's actually 16 channels in there, so you can actually get 16 cameras running. But once you get to 16 cameras, you're actually derating the performance all the way down to like a D1 resolution. So yes, there's room to add more channels, but you're definitely going to have to downgrade the channels when you go above and beyond the maximum that we're talking about in that document. So another example is the 32 channel. The 32 channel we're saying is only up to 32 channels. You can actually go up to 40 with that, but you're going to have to downgrade the performance. So good question there. Thank you.
Great answer. Thank you. Another question that we have is related to color. When will you be opening up other colors for Visualint cameras? I have a project that I would like to use 4 to 6 PTZs and place them on the edge of the woods, but need black for concealment. I was told you could paint them, but that they would avoid the warranty, so don't want to have to look somewhere else.
Absolutely. So the quick answer I'll give is that the cameras can be any color you want, obviously, if you paint them. No, it's not true. No, it's not true that it'll avoid the warranty, so I apologize if you were steered incorrectly there. You can go ahead and paint it. However, if your paint job caused it for you to want to return it, yeah, we're not going to take a return because you painted it poorly. But if you painted it and for some other reason that camera stopped working, absolutely, we'll take that back. We're always going to do the right thing there. Now, to answer the question where I think you were heading is when can we offer other colors in terms of like a black camera, black version, or a gray camera. That's certainly a product request we've gotten from a number of people since we've launched Visualint. That's something I'm going to be taking a look at. It's not going to happen this year, but it's certainly something that we can take a look at to potentially happen next year, hopefully, or shortly after that. So as the demand grows, we'll be looking to expand the colors just like we have with our previous Luma and WirePath solutions.
Great, thank you. I think we can get like one or two real quick questions in, and then that'll be it. So one of the questions that we had was, do you plan to have larger DVRs and NVRs from Luma? Any plan to phase out Luma like you did WirePath?
So there are no plans to phase out Luma here. In fact, what we plan on doing is actually expand the Luma line, hopefully over the next year, to include a kind of a lower end. But I think going forward, and we haven't finalized all this planning yet, I don't see us expanding it in terms of larger number of channels, because we now do have the line series NVR where we can take advantage of sort of that scalable larger project sort of capability. But we will be adding some VMS capabilities to the Luma line as well, so that there'll be a little bit more scalability, even though the size of the NVRs will not be going up. So we're going to continue with the Luma line. We're not going to be discontinuing it like we did with WirePath. And we'll be expanding the capabilities of Luma, but not necessarily scaling it up like we do with Line, because really Line is really filling that gap of sort of that large-scale, enterprise-grade sort of solution.
Thank you, Alex. I think we're kind of out of time on the time frame as far as the stuff. So we did capture all the questions. We can certainly work towards building out a Q&A from this, and hopefully getting that emailed out to you guys that attended. Some quick things here at the end. I really want to thank all of you guys for attending today. I know it's tough to get off job sites and spend your time here, but I think Alex and Adrian did an excellent job. Please look for our follow-up email that will include a coupon or an offer. After a recording of today's session, it's going to be $100 off of any surveillance purchase. Somebody said, did they get a free camera for attending? And so we're going to give you $100 off. I think that's pretty hefty amount of money. Also want to take a minute for you guys to fill out a brief survey at the end of the webinar when you exit. Just 3 quick questions, click, 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 and you're done. Just want to make sure that you do that if you can. And on behalf of Luma and Visualint and SnapAV, again, thank you for taking your time out and join us, and have a great day and happy installing.